Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 8, text 12. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्न्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो yogadharanam. So Krishna says one should practice this yoga by sarvadvarani samyamya. Samyama means to control. Dwara means doors. What does it mean by controlling the doors? The senses are like these doors to sense objects. Through our senses, we interact with the sense objects. So, sarvadvarani samyamya means one has to control these sensual engagements. And mano hrudi nirudhyacha, the mind should be focused on the heart, fixing the mind in the heart. Mano hrudi nirudhyacha and murdhni adhaya atmanaha pranam. The prana, the life air, has to be murdhni adhaya, has to be brought, situated at the top of the head. Murdhni means head, on the head. Astitaha, one who is situated like this, or this situation is called yoga dharanam, the yogic situation. So, you see here, Prabhupada explains this process has Krishna has already explained in the 6th chapter in detail. How one has to go to the forest, how one has to sit erect, how one has to shut down all sensual engagements. So, this technically is also called pratyahara. Ahara means to eat, pratyahara means to stop eating. That means we eat the sense objects. In the sense, we consume the sense objects with our different senses. But pratyahara means exactly opposite. We should withdraw the senses from the sense objects. Sense organs, the gnanendriya, like our eyes, ears, tongue, nose, skin, they should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in sense gratification. So, what is the idea? So that the mind, instead of focusing on these sense objects, it focuses on the Paramatma in the heart, the super soul in the heart. And when the life air is raised to the top of the head, and at that point, when you leave the body, the idea is to go back to Godhead. But in this age, the best process is Krishna consciousness. One does not have the ability to do this kind of yogic practice. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. So, as you can see here, the importance of samyamya or controlling the senses is mentioned. So, these are yogic principles. Whether you follow Ashtanga yoga or even Bhakti yoga, all these principles have to be satisfied. How you satisfy it is called by different yogas, but the principles have to be satisfied. What is that important principle? The pratyahara principle, which is to withdraw our senses from the sense objects. Many times Krishna uses this word samyamya in this Bhagavad Gita. sense control is emphasized. In second chapter itself, Tani Sarvani Samyamya. So one may ask why? Why is it important for a spiritualist to regulate the senses, to control the senses? Somebody may say, in fact, people do come and they ask the question, why is it like this? Because we have been given the senses. So why not engage and enjoy? So the answer to that question is there is difference between animal life and human life. If we live like animals, use the senses just for the purpose of sense gratification, what is the difference? Higher intelligence is given in the human body. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Atha, henceforward, hereafter, Ataha, because you have lived in animal species in so many lifetimes before and engaged in sense gratification. Now, Atha, hereafter, Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now you should spend your time and your material senses in Brahma Jignasa to understand and inquire about Brahman. The human senses are very valuable, but if we also engage like animals, the most important sensory power, which is to engage and understand Krishna consciousness, will be lost. We all know in Mahabharata, the Kauravas and Pandavas were fighting fiercely. And Kauravas, they were trying to overcome the Pandavas. And at one point, there was this son of Bhima, Ghatotkacha. He was wreaking havoc amongst the Kaurava party. And he was killing left and right everybody. And Duryodhana became so scared that, oh my God, how do I kill him? Only Karna can kill him. Karna's special weapon can kill him. And he went and told Karna, "No, you have to use this weapon." But Karna said, no, 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 I have reserved this weapon for Arjuna. This is a very special weapon. I cannot use this. No, you have to find some other way. And Duryodhana said, forget Arjuna. Before we come to Arjuna only, we will be consumed by this Ghatotkacha. What is the point of saving it later? So you have to use it. And he forced him. And Karna used his weapon against Ghatotkacha. Ghatotkacha was killed, but he was left with no more power. So why this example? The example is, the reason is because Maya throws this Ghatotkacha for us in terms of big sensual attraction. And we use all our sensory power in our facility. We fall for it without realizing that we should have used it for the right purpose, higher purpose, which is to use in Krishna consciousness. Because nirayepi nrinam, even in hell, sense gratification is available. Even without looking for it, we will get sense gratification. You don't have to look for it. And even if you try, you will not get more than what you are destined. So it's such a losing cause. If somebody were to tell you your salary is fixed for life, how much ever you work hard. But if somebody goes to office and works day and night, even if the management says, no, your salary is fixed. So that is foolishness, isn't it? So likewise, we are doing that even though according to karma, it is fixed up. According to our previous destiny, our sense gratificatory ability is fixed up. We will get a fixed amount of happiness and fixed amount of distress. So if we misuse it for only sense gratification over and over again, then we are not acting smart. That's why Shastra says, Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido न लभ्यते यद भ्रमतामुपर्यतः तल्लभ्यते दुःखवदन्यतः सुखम कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा. So one should use the senses, one should use our time over and above what we engage in our material duties. One should do those material duties, but above and beyond that we have got, it should be used for something that which is not obtained in this material world. Nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyadaha, by going to higher planets or by going to lower planets or in this planet, we won't attain, which is Krishna consciousness. So that is why the Kovida, the learned and smart and intelligent, they prayateta, they endeavor for something that which is not obtained in this material plane. That is Krishna consciousness. So we should not misuse our senses. So Bhagavad Gita teaches that the mind should be controlled and not misused. This mind is like, if you have to understand, the mind is like a television set. It works like a television set. So, for example, this television is nothing but a combination of certain metals, some plastic, glass, some electronic circuits. It's all material elements, isn't it? So, similarly, mind is also a material product. But the functionality of the television is like it can tune into different waves transmitted by a satellite, isn't it? You can change the channels. So it can, of course, I'm talking about old technology now. I think this streaming has come through internet. Nevertheless, you have to stream means you have to switch to another channel. So this television can tune into different waves of energy transmitted by a satellite, and it produces different images and sounds based on whatever you tune into. So the pleasure that we are looking for in this world is compared to the different energies emitted by these different satellite channels. Different kinds of pleasure is available in this world, and our mind can tune to different kinds of pleasure. Not every television set is tuned to a same channel, isn't it? Different people, they tune their sets to different channels according to whatever pleasure they want. This is called pleasure in mode of passion, pleasure in mode of ignorance, pleasure in even goodness, or transcendental pleasure. These four available channels, let's say. Ignorance is nothing but completely being like animals. Passion means you are at least working hard, but for sense gratification. That is also in one kind of ignorance. Goodness means your pleasure is to understand self, to acquire knowledge. And transcendental pleasure is to serve Krishna. So, this tuning device, the mind is tuning into all these pleasures. And we get affected. People are affected by watching these advertisements and channels, isn't it? We tune into that product channel when we get attracted by it and we buy that product. Similarly, we will be affected by whatever we tune into. This is a law of nature. That is why Krishna is saying, don't tune into these material products. He already mentioned the principle in second chapter. Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bhijayate. So if you contemplate on a certain product, you will end up buying that product. If you contemplate on a particular sense object, you develop some attachment and desire to possess it. Like, for example, you put an iron rod in fire, it becomes red hot like fire eventually. But if you put that same iron rod in ice, due to association with ice, it becomes as cold as ice. So, yoga simply means tuning our mind to a spiritual channel. Contemplate on spiritual things, Krishna and Krishna related things, instead of contemplating on material things. So we can choose to tune our mind. The mind cannot be shut. In Ashtanga yoga process, the pratyahara, they shut the mind. Active, like switching off the TV. Then what the person will do? He has to do something, isn't it? He has to watch something. Again, after some time, he will switch it on. Just like there are many diet control mechanisms to lose weight. So they focus on reducing your food, not eating certain things. Try this for 1 month, 2 months. And then when that time period is done, again it will bounce back with even bigger force. Oh, I have done enough austerity, I have lost weight. Now let me go back and eat this. Because the taste remained, isn't it? Unless you cultivated a higher taste, different lifestyle, taste for different lifestyle, you'll go back to that same thing. So instead of completely avoiding, which is what is done in Ashtanga Yoga, we should try to tune into spirituality. Try to find higher taste in Krishna consciousness. One time during Prabhupada's times, the devotees went to Prabhupada and they said, Prabhupada, we were conducting these programs in university and people are not coming. They are going away. And Prabhupada said, so what are you teaching? No, we are teaching the regular Krishna conscious thing. We are teaching as it is. We are in one class we taught about how one should not engage in sense gratification and one senses should be controlled from sense objects. And Prabhupada said that is why they are not coming. You should say one senses should be regulated from sense objects. It should be regulated because you cannot, just like for example a person having fever 103, 104, the right thing to do is to bring it back to 98.6. You cannot make it completely zero, isn't it? So similarly, right now the material world is in a feverish sense gratificatory mode. But we cannot wipe out altogether. There has to be moderation. It has to be brought to 98.6. Our senses and sense objects should be interacted as much as we need. कामस्यनेन्द्रिय प्रीतिर लाभो जीवेत यावता जीवस्य तत्व जिज्ञासा नार्तो यश्चेह कर्मभिः. कामस्य Labho jiveta yavata. Yavat labha jivet tavat we should engage in kama. In the sense, our senses need engagement. We need to eat food, we need to watch something, we need to hear something, we need to work with our senses as much as it is required for keeping our body together, for our material duties, as an obligation, whatever is required. We need to talk to somebody to get things done, isn't it? So that much is allowed. But the above and beyond, jivasya tattva jignasa, keep the temperature at 98.6, and your active energy should be used for Krishna consciousness. So Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers to Narsimhadev, he quoted one beautiful verse. How these senses are all acting like the wives of a husband. Let's say the husband has many wives, of course, in those times, not now anymore. जिह्वैकतोच्युत विकर्षति मा वितृप्त शिष्णोन्यतस्त्वगुदरं श्रवणं कुतश्चित् घ्राणोन्यतश्चपलदृक्व च कर्मशक्तिर्बह्व्यः सपत्न्य इव गेहपतिं लुनन्ति. And if the husband goes to the house, each wife is pulling him in their own direction. So, like that, every sense is pulling us in different directions. And we are completely lost. One whose mind is uncontrolled. Therefore, Krishna says, the mind can be our best friend or mind can be our worst enemy. When can the mind be our best friend? When the mind is controlled from sensual engagement, the mind is our best friend. When is it our worst enemy? When the mind is completely attracted and is acting on the impulses of the mind or the senses. Then the mind becomes the worst enemy. So in Krishna consciousness, the senses are directly engaged from the beginning in serving Krishna. It is called dovetailing. And by the power of that, when Krishna cleanses our desires, only Krishna can do that. Other processes we have to rely, but in this process of bhakti, Krishna enters our heart and Krishna removes our ignorance. That is the difference between bhakti and other processes. In bhakti, Krishna takes active charge of our life. And in other processes, we have to climb with our strength. But in the bhakti, Krishna will pull us. So, but this Ashtanga Yoga, still Krishna is recommending because in other ages, they were practicing in the preparatory stage. As I said, there are two stages for perfection: preparatory stage and culminating stage. In ancient times, they were practicing this in the preparatory stage to control the mind. Like in Nectar of Devotion, one pastime is described. This Brahmana in Pratishtanapura, to, to think of Krishna in the mind, first he sat and does achaman and then does pranayama to control the mind, and then starts to focus the mind on Krishna and starts to think of Krishna. So that means in a preparatory stage to control the senses, this was followed. But in our case, Hare Krishna does both. Chanting Hare Krishna, it does both, helping us to control the mind, and once it is controlled, helping us to think of Krishna. And moreover, in those ages, once you finish the preparatory stage, if you are not associated with a devotee who can teach you bhakti, the yogis typically they tend to go to higher planets or impersonal Brahman. But the advantage of bhakti is from the beginning we are told the destination, the highest destination, which is go back to Godhead. So in every case you can understand how bhakti is the topmost and how it will satisfy all these principles that Krishna mentions, the yogic principles, bhakti satisfies. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita